everyone. I would like to welcome you to tonight's info session. My name is Julie Alley. Before we get started, the British Columbia Institute of Technology acknowledges that our campuses are located on the unceded traditional territories of the Coast Salish nations of the Squamish, Tsleil-Waututh, and Musqueam. Here is this evening's agenda, and at this time I would like to introduce our presenter, Ray Lee.
So my name is Ray Lee, and I am the program head for the MRI programs here at BCIT. Before we get into the presentation, we're just going to launch a quick poll. So what does a patient have to wear when they get an MRI? Okay, so we have 60% of us had picked earplugs, 30% lead apron, and 10% protective eyewear. So the correct answer is earplugs. So congratulations to the 12 of you. For those who have not gotten an MRI before, it is very noisy. It's a very loud machine, especially when it's taking its pictures, and we'll kind of explain why there's such a loud noise there. Here, so we're going to go into what is MRI. So MRI is used in medicine or medical imaging to answer many different questions, and the number of applications is growing as the technology rapidly progresses. This modality is considered a baby compared to some of the other medical imaging modalities. It's only been around for about 40 years. So the advances in the technology itself is quite rapid, and there's continuous change. So if you are looking for a career field that is changing almost every year, this is a great career to consider. Magnetic resonance imaging, or MRI, is a non-invasive medical imaging test that produces detailed images of almost every internal structure within the human body and also animals, including organs, bones, muscles, and blood vessels. The MRI scanners create images of the body using a very strong magnetic field and radio waves. There's no ionizing radiation produced during an MRI exam, unlike X-rays. So it's very safe for the patients and also very safe for the MRI technologists themselves. The images give the physician or the radiologist important information in diagnosing any medical condition and planning a course of treatment. The machine consists of, once again, that really strong external magnetic field that has to be cooled down to negative 269 degrees Celsius. And the very strong magnetic field aligns the protons in your body, and we use radio frequencies to energize these protons. As the protons then relax after we stop the radio frequencies, the protons will emit a signal of energy that is captured by antenna or a camera, and then that's how our MRI images are formed. So next slide, what does an MRI machine do? So it produces sectional anatomy in any spatial direction. So what that means is that we can look at anatomy and also pathologies in different points of views. It also gives us really high resolution imaging. The major areas of use of MRI imaging is to visualize the brain and spinal cord, so a lot of neural exams. We also can look at joints and muscles really well. We can assess and diagnose strokes, cancers, and we can also look at the blood vessels and the heart using contrast agents. So once again, there's no ionizing radiation that is used to acquire these MRI images. So from the patient's point of view, or if a patient needs to have monthly or biannual follow-ups, it's very safe for the patients to get these MRIs done. And as MRI technologists working in the area for 8 to 12 hours a day, it's also very safe for us to work in the MRI environment. So on the next slide, we'll look at an actual MRI image. So you can see that compared to an X-ray, it gives us lots of detail and it gives us very high resolution imaging. So this is just a very small example of what we can image with an MRI. So this is a sideways view or a sagittal view. So that's a sideways plane of the neck or the cervical spine. So on the left side there, we have a normal cervical spine there. You can see the vertebrae, you can see the bottom side of the brain with the spinal cord coming down. And then on the right side, we can diagnose a disc herniation. So about halfway down the picture, behind the vertebrae, there is a little black bulge that's coming out from in between the disc spaces, which is then impinging the spinal cord. So this is just one example of being able to have high resolution imaging to be able to look at pathologies. So how do we make MRI images themselves? So we kind of talked about using a really strong external magnetic field, and then using radio frequencies to interact with the protons in your body. So for us to kind of quantify how strong these magnets really are, your standard fridge magnet is about 0.01 Tesla. The Earth's magnetic field is 45 microtesla, or 0.045. The Earth's magnetic field is very low compared to a MRI machine itself, where a standard MRI machine of 1.5 Tesla, which is the most common clinically used strength field for MRI, is about 33,000 times of Earth's magnetic field. And then the modern MRI machines, which are now being installed in the hospitals, are 3 Tesla, which is 66,000 times the Earth's magnetic field. So just to give you a better appreciation of how strong these magnets are, if you kind of follow some up-to-date, MRI news, if you have a interest in that, two of the most recent MRI safety issues. The first one was in Brazil, where a man had brought in a loaded concealed gun into the MRI scanning room. The person was actually accompanying a family member, but did not state that they had something metallic on them. So as they walked into the room to accompany their family member, the metallic pin that discharges the gun went off because it interacted with the strong magnetic field, and then it discharged a bullet, which ended up killing the man. And the most recent MRI safety incident that has occurred in the news was back in October 2023, where a nurse in California was crushed against an MRI machine by a hospital bed that was brought in by a non-MRI personnel. She survived, luckily just required surgery. And after investigation, it was revealed that the non-MRI staff did not receive any MRI specific training, which is a big no-no, and many points of safety checks were missed. So we talked about non-ionizing radiation being used and it's safe, but in this case, there are just other safety factors to consider, such as the strong magnetic field. So next slide, where are MRI machines located? So you're going to find MRI machines at the hospitals, most clinics. There are even mobile units as well. Because the MRI machines are so heavy, because of the magnetic coils and the cooling system, most MRI machines weigh about 4 to 7 tons, or the equivalent of an adult elephant. So you're going to find that within the hospital or the clinic that these MRI machines are mostly found on the ground floor. So we're going to go over 2 pathways that you can become an MRI technologist through your education at BCIT. We have the advanced certificate and the diploma. We'll cover the advanced certificate first and then end off with the diploma program. So the advanced certificate is going to be a second discipline program. So those are going to be for already imaging technologists within medical radiography, radiation therapy, sonography, or nuclear medicine. And they're looking to learn MRI on top of their diploma or degree program. This is delivered online as a part-time program. And then we have our diploma program, which is a in-person full-time program on the Burnaby BCIT campus. And this is for students that do not have previous healthcare experience. So firstly, the MRI Advanced Certificate. If you're interested in advancing your career, if you are able to work independently or as part of a team, because as part of the MRI department, you may be working independently on the night shift, or you may be working throughout the day as part of a larger interprofessional team. And you must also be able to work under pressure, as being an MRI technologist holds a lot of weight. As we previously discussed, all the safety concerns, those all fall onto the MRI technologist. Like as previously stated, you must have a diploma or degree in one of the 4 stated imaging modalities, and you must have active registration with the CMRT or Sonography Canada. And lastly, you must also be able to pass the MRI safety screening form, which is a form that we use also with MRI patients to ensure that there's nothing implanted in their body or contraindicated on the person to make them unsafe to go into or work in the MRI department. So program overview, as stated, it's a part-time online program. It's a self-paced program at BCIT. It has 6 online didactic courses, followed by a 16-week clinical at one or two of our clinical sites, depending on how big or how small the clinical sites are that you get placed at. A great perk of completing the advanced certificate program at BCIT is that you can ladder into the Bachelor of Health Science program as well. So once you finish your advanced certificate program through MRI, you can take 7 additional core component classes to complete your Bachelor's of Health Science. And then as of ending this year, but it's still available, that there is a bursary from the government when you have completed 4 out of the 6 courses. The money then will kick in to cover your last 2 didactic courses and also your costs associated with clinical and writing your certification exam. So the entrance requirements, academically, you will need English Studies 12 at 67% or equivalent. You will need the degree or diploma in medical radiography, nuclear medicine, sonography, or radiation therapy. So this is the first step if you were wanting to learn MRI as a second discipline, is to take one of these programs first and then enroll into the online program after completion. And then some of the non-academic entrance requirements. You will need the MRI safety screening form, as previously stated, just to make sure that you are safe to work in the MRI environment. And then you will need to have current active registration with the CMRT or the sonography equivalent ARDMS. Sorry, Julie, we're just 2 slides ahead now. Sorry, I'm going a bit quick. Perfect. Okay, program details. So we have 3 intakes a year for the advanced certificate program, once in January, April, and then September. So it's all year round. The maximum time to complete the program is 3 years, but we do recommend that you do finish everything in 2 years. And then you enroll into the 16-week clinical term within 2 terms of completing your last theory course. All right, so now we'll switch gears and talk about the MRI Diploma program. So the MRI Diploma program is a 2-year full-time on-campus program with 1 year of academics on campus and then followed with your 1 year of clinical placements. The clinical placements are offered all around BC, so that includes the Lower Mainland, Vancouver Island, the interior, and the northern part of BC. This program is only open to BC residents. The start date for the next cohort is January 2025. So as of right now, the application window is open. It is open from now until May 15th, 2024. And you must submit a complete application by the deadline date to be considered for the January 2025 start. So in terms of applying, the online application will have to be done. It's open for the 1 cycle. So like I said, you can submit a application from now until May 15th. You can log into your My BCIT account and review the online application. So you can fill in the application at your own pace. We will not be looking at any complete applications until May 15th. You just have to ensure that it is absolutely complete. It does not go to admissions until you pay the application fee as well. So regarding the application process, you will firstly review all the entrance requirements on the program website, and then the application process dates, which we just went over. If you need to do any upgrading, you can do that if necessary. A common question is midterm marks suitable for this? Yes, it is. If you were to submit midterm marks, and you don't have your final marks yet, that is absolutely fine. We will assess your application based on your midterm marks. And then if you're conditionally accepted, then we will ask for your final grades. BCIT does offer upgrading courses in many of these subjects as well. So program advising can assist you with this. Ensure that when you apply online that you have all your required documents and that they are scanned and uploaded as PDF files, just because your application will be all electronic. And then so once you're ready to apply online, you can click on the link on the program website. The application fee for domestic students is $90. Just like I said, ensure to make sure that you convert all of your transcripts and all of your additional documentation into PDF. Okay, so the next slide, we'll go over some of the academic entrance requirements and non-academic entrance requirements. So for the academic entrance requirements, we will require English Studies 12, Pre-Calculus 12, Physics 12, and Anatomy and Physiology 12. These are all at 73% or equivalent. Some of the non-academic requirements are overlapping with the MRI Advanced Certificate, so we will still need you to fill in the MRI safety screening form to ensure that you are safe to work in the environment. And then there are also two other forms you will have to complete, a physical and program requirements form, which just ensures that all the applicants are aware of all the physical requirements of the program, and that you are also consenting to be sent throughout BC for your clinical placement. And then the mandatory application questionnaire just helps us understand who you are as a person, and it's sort of like a written interview piece where there's 4 questions. So those are the non-academic requirements on the BCIT website. There's also a Casper assessment test. So it's a computer-based assessment for sampling personal characteristics. So this is also part of the application process. So you will have to visit the Casper website to enroll into a right sitting, which are offered multiple times until the cutoff application deadline of May 15th. So if you're interested in applying into the program, ensure that you also enroll for a Casper right and get that done. And then the results are sent to the program after you're right. Julie, how are you doing with the slides there? Perfect. Oh, so we are on the admissions process slide here. Perfect. Okay. So after you apply, your application will be reviewed by the admissions department to ensure that you fulfill all of the entrance requirements. This process can take between 2 to 4 weeks. Note that there are limited seats available for each intake. So it is a competitive program to get into. So please note the shortlisting criteria that are on the program website to find out ways to make your application more competitive. Once you are offered a seat, you'll be asked to pay a commitment fee to hold your seat, and that tuition for the first term will be due 60 days before you start your classes. You'll be informed through an electronic letter from the BCIT admissions department of your admission into the program and your commitment fee to save your spot in the program after acceptance is $500. So in terms of our career outlook, MRI technologists are in high demand, just like in any field in healthcare right now. There is a shortage in qualified workers. So in our case, MRI technologists. The field is constantly expanding. So what that means is that there are new hospitals being built. There are numerous MRI departments and magnets being installed in one singular hospital. So magnets are being run 24/7. So the need to have qualified MRI technologists running these magnets is dire. especially in BC. There are over 30 postings in BC right now that are unfilled. So great things about why you would want to enroll into a program and start your 2-year journey with the BCIT MRI program is you get to spend 1 full year on the BCIT campus, receiving content and instructions from our faculty that are all still current practicing MRI technologists. We offer a lot of exposure within our simulation labs over that year, which help prepare our students for the clinical setting. If you are from out of town, if you're on Vancouver Island or from the interior or from the northern part of BC, living accommodations is usually at the forefront of making your decision. And it's a big decision having to come down to the lower mainland to do your studies. So if this speaks to you, the great thing about this specific program is that we lump our didactics into 1 full year. So what that means is that you only have to find accommodations for just the 1 calendar year, essentially. And then for the second year, when you do your clinical, then you can choose to return to your hometown, then to complete your clinical. So speaking of the second year, the full year of clinical experience includes going to multiple clinical sites with exposures to small and large hospitals. So you get to experience community hospitals versus larger trauma hospitals. And that this also includes rotations through specialty areas, such as pediatrics, research facilities, and also cancer centers. And upon graduation and successfully writing the national certification exam, you'll be employable at any hospital and any clinic across Canada, which is a huge perk of having a national certification exam. Is that, once you finish your studies here and you want to move back east or you want to move to a different province, that is 100% an option for you as well. Okay, so we'll get into some of the testimonials here. So we have 3 of them. So the first one, her name is Cassidy. She finished her medical radiography diploma program at BCIT. I actually taught her in that program. And she went on to enroll and complete the advanced certificate MRI program at BCIT and achieved the highest mark in Canada for one of the 2022 national certification exam rights. So we're super proud of her. So she's just written a little testimonial for us, showing that she really likes the career path that she has taken into MRI. A great thing about doing MRI as a second discipline as well is that you can go back and forth between the first modality and the second modality, giving students a lot of flexibility in what they want to do as a career. Some sites also employ dual modality, so what we call them dual modality techs. So, 1 week they'll spend maybe an X-ray, and then the next week they'll spend an MRI. So if you want a bit of variety, that's always an option as well. So this is the path that Cassidy has taken. We have our second testimonial, Harmon. So I taught him not an X-ray, but just an MRI as a student through the advanced certificate program. So he's left us with a video to play. So I will let Julie play the video for us.
Hello everyone, my name is Armin and I'm a recent graduate of the MRI program at BCIT. I just wanted to take this time to share a couple things about the program. First and foremost, I liked how each module and course was set up as a building block towards your clinical session and ultimately becoming an MRI technologist. As a practicing MRI technologist, I really enjoy working with a vast diversity of people from neonates to geriatrics, especially in finding a diagnosis for their symptoms or their disease. I hope this little snippet helps you in your journey in becoming an MRI technologist. I wish you all the best.
So he's also written a testimonial, which will be available on the recording and also the slide deck as well. So we will not read that word by word. And our last person I'd like to introduce as a testimonial is Laura Byers. So Laura is currently in our MRI diploma program. She is our one of the cohort reps of her cohort and is now in her clinical year. So she's now considered a senior student. So I'd like to kind of give the floor up to Laura to kind of take a minute or two just to speak to her experience with the BCIT MRI diploma program.
Yeah, so I've completed my first year of didactics. So all of my theory is done. All I have left to do is my 2 clinical rotations. First one is at Lionsgate Hospital. The next one is at St. Paul's Hospital. And then after that, I need to take the CMRT federal exam, which will be in January 2025. Lots of questions regarding the first year. For the didactic term, people are really concerned about like the physics, especially, which I can say they really hold your hand through it. They make sure that you're not solving crazy equations. They just want you to understand how MRI works. So if physics is what's holding you back, don't worry about it. It's totally fine. Math is not my strong suit, and I did well. But now that I'm in my second year and I'm working in the hospital, it's hard for me to say whether it's good or bad because it's all subjective. It's all an opinion, but I'm really, really enjoying it. I worked in hospitality for 8 years before joining the MRI program, and I am loving it. I'm on my feet every day. I'm meeting new people from all over. I'm seeing really interesting pathologies, really interesting cases. No 2 days are the same. And seeing the teamwork in the MRI departments, or just at Lionsgate right now, seeing the teamwork between the techs there is really inspiring. And I can already tell that I'm really going to enjoy the profession. BCIT did an amazing job of preparing us for the clinical, and so therefore preparing us for a whole career. Some of the techs are kind of blown away, and this weekend I had the opportunity to talk to technologists at other sites that have other first discipline students there as well. And they were all saying the same amazing praises of that they were saying between Surrey, between St. Paul's, just how well BCIT has trained us for working in MRI. So I highly, highly recommend this program. I think as soon as I graduate, I'm going to be hitting the ground running. I'll be getting a full-time job, and it's well paying as well. So if you are interested in working in healthcare, if you're interested in working with people, and you want a profession that you're going to get a job in right away, I think MRI is it. And I highly, highly recommend the program.
Awesome. Thank you, Laura, for such a kind words. That's awesome feedback that you've received from the other clinical sites. That's great. Yeah, and Laura will stick around as well until the end of the info session. So during our Q&A, if you have any questions that are more student-centric and you'd like to direct them to Laura, Laura will be here as well. All right, so I will pass on to Julie to cover the next few slides.
Hi, everyone. I'm back. Now, moving from the academics, I would like to let you know that BCIT is committed to supporting students in a holistic sense. We want you to succeed not only in your academics, but also outside of school. Some of the student services are available to you as a prospective student, and others will be available to you once you become an enrolled student. Here are some of the important student supports that I'd like to mention. If you are Indigenous, BCIT's Indigenous Initiatives Department is there for you to ensure a smooth transition into your first year. They offer peer-to-peer mentorship, a welcoming gathering place, and provide clarification on Indigenous funding. BCIT awards, scholarships, and bursaries are listed on our financial aid and awards webpage. I would like to mention that we have a President's Entrance Award, and selection is based on academic achievement and also volunteer and community service. Please contact financial aid directly for more information. BCIT is committed to providing assistance to students with permanent or temporary disabilities. If you have been accepted to a program and believe you may need accommodation to be successful, I encourage you to connect with our Accessibility Services Department. BCIT Student Health Services is a health clinic located on the campus. They provide medical care for current BCIT students year-round, and the wait times aren't that long. We also have a counseling and student development department available to help you enhance your educational performance and maximize your success. Our Rec Services department promotes, encourages, and enables the practice of physical well-being. We consider recreation an integral part of campus life and welcome all students to enjoy our services. There's a rock climbing wall, there's showers on campus, there's a fully functional gym, so we definitely do encourage you to take advantage of that. Program advising. Program advising is a fantastic resource in your journey to applying and becoming a student. Don't hesitate to contact them. They are there if you have a question or if you're unsure of something about the application process, resources, success strategies, program schedules, among many others. They are available to assist you on specific days via telephone, email, or in-person and virtual appointments. Please go to their webpage, bcit.ca/advising, for their most up-to-date contact information and service hours. If your inquiry is time sensitive, call during the telephone advising hours. This is the best option to get your questions answered quickly. These are our social media handles. And not showing is MRI, but I will get to that slide soon and you'll see their account. So if you're interested in the program and you want to learn more and see insight on day-to-day, that handle will be up and I encourage you to follow them. More about spending a day, big info sessions, advising. And again, you'll receive this in your email, so no need to snapshot. This will all come to you in a PDF format. I'd like to open up the floor now for the Q&A, so please feel free to post in the chat or take yourself off mute and ask the question.
I had a question.
Yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, so I think I heard Ray mention something about financial aid during the clinical part of the curriculum. Does that also exist for the diploma?
Yeah, I can speak to that. That same bursary program does not apply to the diploma program, but currently there are explorations for for bursaries and grants from the government for the diploma program, and that's just to help with graduating more students out of the program and contributing to the healthcare workforce. So there probably is currently and will be in the future because we're looking at the January 2025 intake right now, that there may be some grants and bursaries available for diploma students if they enroll into the program.
Got it. Thank you.
Thank you, Ray. We had a couple of questions. For the clinical, do you get placed in any area in BC or can you make a geographic request?
That's a great question. Yeah, so the way that we run our clinical selection process is that we let students pick where they want to go. So I gave the example of a person who is out of town that may want to come here for the full year of their didactics, and then they live maybe in Victoria. So what they would do is that they can select Victoria to do their clinical year at, with maybe a couple of rotations throughout Vancouver Island, and then we would do our best to accommodate that request. So yeah, so we do leave it to the students, but as the program's expanding and as the clinical seats are becoming limited, there are instances where students may want to stay in the Lower Mainland, but may be placed outside of the Lower Mainland for a part of their clinical year. So one of the forms as part of the non-academic entrance requirements is just the acknowledgement that we will do our best to accommodate your clinical requests, but if you do get placed outside of those areas, that you would be willing to proceed with the program based on where you're placed.
Sorry, I just have a question. I just say so quick. I got my master in biochemistry in Iran. I just want to know if I want to apply, should I apply with my diploma, or is it possible to transfer some credit?
I think that would be best answered by program advising, if I understood your question correctly. In terms of transferred credits into the program, we don't allow any transfer credits or course exemptions in our diploma program. So if you're speaking to the diploma program, we wouldn't offer anything in that regard. But for the advanced certificate, if you are an imaging technologist, there could be instances there where if you've done your education elsewhere outside of Canada, then we can then they can talk about having equivalencies in that piece. But like I said, the second discipline program is for imaging technologists, which it sounds like your background is not from there in terms of your education. So yeah, best would be to contact program advising for any questions regarding transfer credits and equivalating your previous educational courses and experiences to BCIT.
Thank you, Ray. We have a question from T.
Hi, I'm just wondering, I obtained a bachelor degree before, and I'm wondering if I'm applying to the diploma program, would a GPA of my undergrad be considered, or would a GPA of my high school be considered?
Yeah, great question. Because some people may come in with better marks in their high school and worse marks in their post-secondary, vice versa. So the grade 12 level marks would be considered unless you have a course equivalency of something that you've taken in post-secondary. So if that's something that you would like to be used, then that's what you would submit to admissions.
I would not, but yeah, thank you so much. Thank you so much. That's good news.
Ray, we have a question. Sorry. How many applications do you typically receive for the advanced certificate and diploma in each semester?
For the advanced certificate, we really don't cap the seats, so I wouldn't think that the number of applications would be sort of like relevant in terms of like, am I going to get in or not? If you're qualified, if you meet all the entrance requirements for the advanced certificate, there won't be an issue with you being accepted into whichever intake you would like to be starting your studies. For the diploma program, we've seen a steady increase of complete applications from our inception, so our first year, where we had about 30 to 35 complete applications. Last year, we received about 40, and this year I'm probably expecting anywhere from 50 to 60. But it's hard to tell because we're so early in the application window right now. But trending wise, I would expect more than 40 this year.
Thank you, Ray. We have a question from HV.
Hi, I'm actually gonna complete my biochemistry degree at SFU at the end of this semester, and I was planning on applying for the next intake, but I'm actually going to graduate in the summer. But I've already, but in terms of the degree requirements, I would be done all my degree requirements for graduation by April. For the application, will they consider my bachelor's degree from SFU in my application, or because I haven't like officially graduated, are they going to consider me like a high school applicant, basically?
Yeah, at the program level, when we review the complete applications, any post-secondary education is preferred, whether you've completed a credential or not. So if you're on your way of completing it, but won't complete it by the program deadline, that's absolutely fine. We're not necessarily looking for people that have completed a full post-secondary credential. So I think you're absolutely fine.
Okay, thank you.
So I have a question from Ali Yu. Would I apply first and then start volunteering, or volunteer and then apply?
Yeah, great. Also a great idea from, from the application point of view. I think you definitely want to already be volunteering. The reason why is volunteer work or work experience in the healthcare setting or in a customer service sort of setting is one of the shortlisting criteria. So if you already have that, you meet that requirement. And also, it'll really help with the mandatory applicant questionnaire, where it asks you to draw upon your experiences in the healthcare setting or in a customer service setting. So I would definitely already be in the process of volunteering or being in that sort of environment. before you apply, just so that you can better fill out those application forms and also meet some of that shortlisting criteria. Yeah, and the care home, sorry, I'm just kind of catching up on the chat. A care home would be an awesome place. It doesn't necessarily have to be in the hospital, because sometimes gaining volunteer experience in the hospital can be quite difficult. If you can get into a care home or long-term care facility, something along that lines, the main piece is having direct patient contact. That is great experience. We're also finding a lot of students now are also coming with experiences from organizations that work with hand in hand with healthcare. So like if you volunteer with like the Alzheimer's Society or Red Cross, those sorts of organizations where maybe you are having that one-to-one relationship with a patient or something along that line, that is also equally valuable.
Thank you, Ray. I'm just going to cut in there for a moment because I know Maggie, our program advisor, and Darren Ton, one of our marketing coordinators, have to leave for another session. So I wanted to thank them both before they depart, and we have about 5 more minutes for the Q&A. So thank you, Maggie, and thank you, Darren. There was one question that came up directly, was also wondering what the current starting salary and max salary is at this time. Can MRI techs work Monday to Friday day shift hours, or do they need to be available for shift work?
Okay, two-part question. Okay, so the first part, wages. As of right now, the top wage right now is about it's about $50. Starting wage should be about 42 or 44. In terms of advancement as well, because you can also advance into leadership roles as well, that will also increase your pay. MRI technologists are paid on an hourly basis. There's also shift differentials. So what that means is that if you work evenings or weekends or night shifts, then you get paid additional money based on which shifts you're working. In terms of, am I going to work Monday to Friday daytimes? The way that lines work at hospitals and also clinics is that there are certain lines that are attached to certain shifts. So if you are interested only in working Monday to Friday daytime, or maybe working evenings works out better for your life, or even weekends or even nights, like my wife works night shifts because it works better for our family, those lines are available. So you just have to be able to get yourself into one of those lines that work really well with, what you have going on outside of work, because everyone appreciates, work-life balance. So yeah, so if Monday to Friday daytime, even though that's really desirable, that is a line, those are lines that exist.
I have 2 similar questions. One asking, my background is in hotel management. Would this experience be considered in terms of working with the public? And someone else asked, is a retirement home a good volunteer location? So hotel management and a retirement home.
Yeah, I mean, hotel management, I think that's great because you're dealing with customers, right? Not patients, but customers. You're going to have to deal with some of their requests, maybe complaints, things like that. So I think that, that's a good place to start for sure. Retirement home, it really depends on what your role is there. If you work at a long-term care facility or a retirement home, it would have to be really focused on interaction with those people that live there. So, whether you're assisting with transporting them around, if you're interacting with them on a one-to-one basis, right? So it really depends on what your role is within that setting.
One more question for Ray. I got my master's degree of biomedical engineering. Can I apply directly to the advanced certificate program?
No, unfortunately, you cannot, unless you are a imaging technologist. So it has to be really specific in sonography, radiation therapy, nuclear medicine, or medical radiography, which is X-ray. It's just because we share a very similar competency profile, which then we can guarantee that they have a good foundation coming into the MRI studies themselves. So we don't have to cover those fundamental competencies anymore, and we just focus straight on the MRI contents and competencies themselves. So unless you come from one of those 4 imaging modalities, you would have to apply to the MRI diploma program.
I think that about wraps it up for our Q&A. I don't see any new questions or unanswered ones at this time. I'd like to again thank Rayleigh, our presenter, Laura, our student, for coming out and taking the time to speak, and then Maggie and Darren, and of course everybody that took the time out to attend this session as well. Again, look out in your email for the slide deck and a link to the recording. Feel free to reach out to any of us at any time if you have questions, concerns, or just want to talk about the process. Oh, T has one more question. All right, T, go ahead.
Hi, sorry, I just think about this. I'm wondering, when we are doing the clinical placement, do we get paid or is it just voluntary work?
Yeah, so during the clinical year, you do not get paid for your time there. So it's done almost as a volunteer kind of, arrangement. So, we do the placement, you're going to get preceptorship there, but it's not a paid clinical.
Okay. Yeah, thank you so much.
Yeah, you're welcome.
And thank you, everyone. Have a good night.
Thank you, everyone. Appreciate you making the time.